There is this belief that the more partners women have, their value goes down. But the more partners men have, their value goes up. What do you think about that?
I believe in that.
Welcome to another episode of the Common Podcast, where we speak upon common sense and realize it really isn't that common. Guys, absolute banger of an episode. I know you all are going to like this one. This one was actually requested by one of y'all, the listeners, on Instagram. I say it all the time. If you want to feature on the podcast or if you want to pitch a topic, the best way to do it is through Instagram. The handle is The Real Common Podcast. If you're a new listener or watcher, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and almost anywhere else that you can find podcasts. That's where you can catch us. But guys, the conversation is all about dating dynamics, the dating scene. And the actual question that was asked was, are men at a disadvantage nowadays in the dating scene? That's how it was presented. But we really cover dating dynamics as a whole, gender roles, double standards. Extremely interesting conversation. Huge shout out to Aly, who is the guest. Y'all will get to meet her throughout the conversation. Her link for her Instagram is going to be in the description. Also, she wanted to shout out her gym, so that's also going to be in the description. First two links are going to be to go follow them, so go check them out, show them some love. Again, absolute banger. I like this episode a lot. I think there is more where this came from. I would like to have a panel of maybe 3 or 4 people where we all kind of just get together and talk about dating dynamics. Let me know what y'all think. I can for sure do that for next time. Thank you all. I hope you all enjoy, and we'll catch you all in the next episode. Make sure to leave any comments or go ahead and DM us on Instagram. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. On the track. Well, Aly, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Finally. I never told you this, but I kind of wanted to have you on the show sooner or later.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Because I know you're a longtime viewer and you always have something to say either in the comments or in the DMs usually and stuff like that. So, but yeah, there was a poll on Instagram that I put up about what people would want us to, or what people want to have on the podcast, right? For us to discuss, or not us, but me to discuss. And one of the questions was, are men in a disadvantage in the dating scene? And you kind of laughed at it, right? In the DMs. And I thought that was interesting. So I asked what your thoughts were on it, and you plainly, respectfully disagreed, right? And so typically women are, I guess, too scared to hop on this show with me. I guess I come off as a misogynist. I don't know. You tell me. But that's going to be the conversation for today. Are men in a disadvantage in the dating scene? If so, why? And if not, why? And so your stance is, and I want to make this very clear before we hop on this topic. So you said that men aren't in a disadvantage. I don't want to put any words in your mouth. So are you insinuating that women are at a disadvantage? Or what are you trying to say?
I think that nobody is at a disadvantage.
Okay.
I feel like when you're going into the dating scene, like we're both at the same platforms. And so we're both trying to sell like our traits. Like we're both marketing our traits and what we have to offer and this and this. And that is when men decide to put their best foot forward. They put their best foot forward. They show the woman, hey, if you're with me, I can offer this and this and this. And then the woman also puts their best foot forward and says, oh, well, I'm this type of woman and I like, I'm like this and that. And so I think that both are taking like the same amount of risk and both are going to put the same effort into making themselves out to be like the best version of themselves that they can be, because that's what people do when they start dating. Okay.
I would disagree with 2 points in that, respectfully.
Yeah.
Right? I think that men usually put their best foot forward very quickly, early on, and women are a little bit more reserved. I feel like women kind of test the waters a little bit more. Like, does this guy really deserve my best? is he competent enough for me to trust him with who I am, as opposed to man is going to like buy you flowers, take you on fancy dates in the beginning, right? So it's kind of opposite, right? Where men display their best potential, and then once they got the relationship, they kind of die off, right? In the romantic side of things. And then for women, it's the opposite, where they start off slow, and then once they start to fall in love, they become a little bit more romantic. They become a little bit more willing. So that's the first thing that I would say about that. The second thing I would say is that I think women are more at risk, or I would say that they have more at stake. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because, and I think rightfully so, I think there's a purpose for this. I don't think it's by accident. I think it's by design. Women typically have a lot more at stake because, one, their body, if they decide to have kids, is going to take a toll. Right? They're going to have kids. They're going to have to rely on the husband or the boyfriend or whoever it is, usually to be the breadwinner. That's usually how it works. Obviously, that doesn't always plan out in today's day and age, especially in America. But typically, a woman wants a man who's going to be competent enough to know that I'm able to have children with this guy, and he's going to be able to take care of this family. Right? So I think that women, because in reality, and we do see it, unfortunately, a man can just have a child with a woman and walk out, and he's good. Right? He'll have to pay child support. But at the end of the day, he's still going to be able to do his job. He's still going to be out there, right? Because
nothing holding him back.
Well, yeah. There should be something holding him back, but right, there are some cases like that. I'm not saying all men do that, right? But I think at the end of the day, women have more at stake when it comes to a relationship, and I think that's why they're a little bit more reserved in the beginning, because they need to know this guy I need to know this guy can handle me. I need to know this guy needs to handle my future. What do you think about that?
No, and you know what? Like, I agree because personally, as a woman, yes, that probably is the majority of how it works. You know, I guess I wouldn't put my best foot forward in the beginning, like how you said, and then eventually over time you grow that comfort, you grow that that sense of like vulnerability with that person, and then that's when I guess, like,
obviously you're gonna show up dressed nice, and you're gonna like be well mannered and stuff like that. I'm not saying in those cases. I'm just saying intimately, women will show that affection later on, as soon as they get comfort. And actually, I know there was a study done where they asked 100 women, what is the number one thing that you look for in a first date? And 80% of the women said they wanted to feel comfort, right? And there's a lot of things that go into comfort. One of them is the guy not a creep, right? Obviously. But another one is this guy a good provider, and is he well mannered, right? Now the provider, and a lot of women don't like to admit to this, is he willing to pay? Because that's a good sign that a man is well mannered, first of all, and that he is competent in his field of making money. Because a woman needs to, I feel like that's demonized, and I know I've talked about it on the show before, but because women get this label that they're gold diggers because they want guys that make money. That's not true. Again, it goes back to the nature of a woman needs to know that this guy is going to be competent enough to take care of the future family, right? That's built in. So is a man willing to pay for it? And it kind of sounds bad, but that's just the way it is. Like, typically when they asked this 100 women, that's what it was. Like, well, if he's willing to pay, we know that we're in a better spot than not. And another one was, where did he take them, right? So that mattered. Was it somewhere where it was like super ghetto, where they were at risk, or was it a very nice, elegant place where they felt safe? They didn't have to be looking over their shoulder. So that was the number one thing that these women were looking for. And I think that speaks a lot to what women look for in a man.
It does. It
right?
does.
So I'm going to try to bring this back to the main question, was is, do you think men are at a disadvantage because, well, it seems to, just based off that analysis, it seems like men have to have a lot of things aligned in before getting into the relationship, as opposed to females kind of just have to show up. What do you think about that?
I think that just how we have expectations of how it should be, they obviously have expectations too. I don't think they want a woman that's not emotionally stable. And so maybe she had to take time from her last relationship to completely settle herself emotionally and to heal and stuff like that. I'm sure he's not going to want someone that has like no ambition, that's not productive at all, that's just, how do you say, that just a homebody. But then that's where it also comes to play that I feel that men often have a double standard to women. And I'm sure I'm more than positive men are going to say, oh, like, you know, like that there's a double standard for them, just like women would say that there's a double standard, like vice versa. Right. And so I feel like there's a double standard. You know, some men, they say, oh, I want to be able to feel needed. I want to feel needed, and I want to feel like she needs me, and that, you know, I'm important to her, and this and that, like maybe financially, right? But then he also doesn't want to stay at home like woman that just stays at home and she does, you know, just clean around the house. Like he wants someone with ambition and that's like out there. And so I feel like there's like a double standard on women, and it's so hard to be like, okay, what do they want now? Like I just feel like oftentimes men don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
And so that's very hard for a woman in the dating scene.
Yeah. I think there's a very delicate line between double standards, because I personally feel like there are some double standards that are actually legitimate and that are actually good for us. And then I think there's some double standards that are just completely wrong. Listen, guys, are y'all tired of being fat and unhealthy? Look, I feel you. I've struggled with weight loss for a majority of my life, but I recently lost 32 pounds. I want to tell y'all exactly how I did it. I changed my diet. I ate a little bit healthier. I know how hard that can be with so much convenient fast food restaurants, convenient grab and go foods that you can just pick up and go. But I want to show y'all a way where y'all can stay convenient and eat a bit healthier. That's why I want to tell y'all about my good friends at Primitive Eats. It's a local, homegrown, small business that is a meal prep company. And they are derived off the paleo diet. Really quickly, paleo is just a natural way of eating food. Taking out simple carbs, sticking to the earth, okay? It is very good for you. It's very healthy for you, and you can support a local small business. It's always great. So if you're in the Los Fresnos, Brownsville, or Harlingen, San Benito area, go check them out. They have plans where you can buy for the full week. They will deliver it for you. Quick, easy, and go, and it's super delicious. They support the podcast. I support them. Go check them out. And if you don't want to get their meal plan, listen, check out their Instagram. That is Primitive Eats 90. I'm going to leave it in the description. If you're not going to follow them for the meal preps, follow them for their memes, because their memes are hilarious. Also, little quick fun fact, they do raffles, which I recently won concert tickets on their page. True story. Go check them out. I support Primitive Eats. Primitive Eats supports the podcast, and we love them. Go check them out. A double standard, I'll give an example, is the workforce, right? That, what is like the man... Well, men typically take dangerous jobs, right? So they'll be like the one risking their lives, or they're the engineers, they're the ones welding overseas. They're doing all these super dangerous jobs, right? And then women should be at home cleaning the house, washing dishes. Now, a lot of people don't like to hear that, but I feel like that is a double standard that kind of fits if the two come to the agreement. Right? If the woman doesn't want to work and the man wants to go work out, then that's a double standard that works. But if that's not the case, if that's not the agreement, then it's not going to work, right? But it can work if they come to an agreement. I feel like that will be a healthy double standard. And here's why. I think that men have this like masculine thing in them that makes them want to go do those rough jobs. And I feel like women are very delicate and very in tune with their femininity, and they're able to do very careful stuff. That's why you see women in the medical field a lot more than you see men. What do you think about all that?
I could see your point.
What do you think about double standards in general?
It's like, how do I say it? I think that it's always going to be there. I think that there's not really a solution to it. I just think it's something to be more considerate of the other person. Yeah, like I feel that it's not really something that's going to go away. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
But it may create like like uncertainty and like unfairness between like topics like this.
Yeah.
How do I say it? Like I feel, okay, like let's say besides work, right? Oftentimes there's people that want like a good woman, as in abstinence. Like abstinence. Oh, they want a good girl and this and that. But then they invest a lot in women that are the exact opposite. And so for me, I had practiced abstinence like all my life. But that didn't change from being cheated on, and that didn't change from having to face the burden of like a betrayal and stuff like that. And so how am I supposed to go into the dating world and be like, okay, like, I'm just gonna, like, someone's gonna like appreciate that. Someone's gonna appreciate that when I've been proven otherwise, like almost the whole time I've been, in the dating scene.
Okay. So I had told you before we went on the air that there was a surprise question in here that somebody had submitted, and this fits perfectly, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it, because you were talking about abstinence. The question is, are single moms considered a downgrade or not as valuable as women who don't have kids? Right? That kind of fits with the whole abstinence thing.
Yes.
I believe so. What do you think about that? Because you're saying that you kind of don't believe that anymore.
I honestly, like, I think that single moms are underrated. I think that they often go, like, unappreciated, like, as they should be. Okay,
but let me ask you a question. What's more attractive to you, a guy who has kids or a guy that doesn't have kids?
Honestly, if I'm being honest, like, a guilty thing. I'm guilty of, like, being attracted to older guys, like single dads.
Really?
Like, okay. Yes, because it shows like it shows that they're compassionate and they have all these like qualities that not anybody like my age would have. They have
a single dad though?
Yeah, like a dad that took the role that took the role of being the parental guidance for that kid.
Okay.
And so like that's good. Both are good. Like men without kids and men with kids.
Yeah.
Now, if it's like a guy that just got like women pregnant and then didn't, tend to like his duties, and that's like completely different. But a man that decides like, okay, I'm gonna invest in my child's life. I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna be present and raise him right. That's attractive.
Okay, so there's this belief, all right, and I won't say if I subscribe to it or not.
Okay.
But there is this belief that the more partners women have, their value goes down. But the more partners men have, their value goes up. What do you think about that?
I believe in that. Well, no, actually, I believe that men... It's okay. That is a double standard that we probably have for them, right? Like okay, you don't want... Oftentimes women don't want like someone that hasn't had experience like at all, but then we don't want someone that we're gonna go out with them and then like every woman's gonna know who that person is.
Okay.
You get me?
I get you.
And I'm sure it's the same way, but stricter for us women.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually dumbfounded that you agreed with that, because I totally agree with that as well. I subscribe to that.
I do believe that me as a young individual, like, I think that oftentimes sleeping with people has gotten mistaken with like empowerment. You know, like, so oftentimes people my age, they like just, how do I say, they just solve all the risks that they are taking sleeping with, you know, many individuals by saying, oh, plan B, oh, like abortion. It's not that it's an option anymore, but back then. And so I find that, like,
what's an option? You just got to move states to a state.
Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I don't condone that behavior. But if you were in love with that person, or you had really strong affections for that person, and you know, and you slept with them, I think like that's okay. But yeah, like I do see why many people believe that how do I say? Well, what you had said about men's value going up and women's value going down. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I think it really just depends on the individual.
I think you just made Daddy Andrew Tate proud. I think you pissed off a lot of women listening to this show.
I'm sure. I'm not, how do I say, I'm about women being confident in themselves, but don't take the risk of getting an STD and or pregnancy, and you know, that does not make a woman like I guess empowered. It doesn't. There's so many other qualities that us women have, or accomplishments that we've accomplished that can prove that we're empowered, not just, you know, sleeping with other men or having intercourse with them.
100%. Well, the foundation of that belief is that men and women's worth is founded on two different things. Yeah. Women's is found in youth, and youth, fertility, and abstinence. Not complete abstinence, but like a low body count.
Yes, yes.
And then men is solely based on their competence. How can you provide? Do you make a woman feel safe? How much money do you make? Etc. How competent are you in the world, right? And so that's why you see, I'm gonna say Bad Bunny. Yeah. How many girls would go for Bad Bunny? There's so many girls that would go for Bad Bunny. Why? And you see, women would say, no, I don't want a guy who everybody wants or who sleeps with everybody. Yet you would sleep with Bad Bunny, right? I'm not saying you, but a girl would sleep with Bad Bunny. Why is that? Why? Because he's competent. Because he's famous. And because he's famous, he's proven that he's competent. Why? He has wealth and people love him, right? Therefore, you would sleep with him. Females would even marry him, right? So this whole thing where it's like, oh, women don't want that. Women want that competence, and they want that guy that everybody wants, right? So that's why when men have a high body count, it's not a direct correlation with, oh, they have a lot of sex, so I want them. That's not what it is. It's this guy is very competent. He's very successful. That's why I want him. It just so happens that a lot of other girls want him too. Yeah. That's the correlation, right? And then for women, how many rich old guys marry old women?
Hardly.
It's very rare. Why? Because men, especially competent, successful one, they go for youth. I'm not talking underage. That's just bad stuff, right? But they're talking about like 20s or 30s, right? And they're high in fertility, and they haven't had as much body count as, let's say, a 40, 50-year-old woman or whatever the case is, right? So that is the foundation of why women are valued higher when they have a lower body count, and men when they have a higher body count. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with some of that?
It's I guess like I could see why everyone has a role that, a certain role. And I mean, I perhaps would probably have to agree that we've all been instilled with some qualities that we should have. And and just like women cooking and cleaning and this, like, yes, it's like instilled in us. And I would agree that's probably how everyone sees things, like, under everything, that's how we see things. It just naturally, it's just, but it doesn't make dating more difficult. It's just something that should be accepted.
100%. I think dating is like this game that people overcomplicate, where it's like, oh, why are women like this? Why are men like this? Instead of figuring out where they fit. If I'm a male, this is where I fit in this role. This is how I should play this game. I know saying it's a game kind of like belittles it. It's not a game. It's just kind of a metaphor for me to use.
I think that they're both secretly playing a game. Like,
yeah,
secretly.
100%. Like, women know that using their body. That's why women own OnlyFans, right? Because they know that they can use their body to their advantage, right? It's no secret. I don't know why we try to like hide from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I didn't think you were gonna agree with it.
I do believe it is a game, and they could say, oh, I'm not about games. I'm not about games, but it's a game. Like, they're they're not gonna admit it, but it is played. It's a game, and everything they have to offer is points, and then, like, so it's extra points if you have this, if you have that, or that quality. It's a game.
Yeah, and we'll even go back to our friends like, oh, he does this, or like, you know what I mean, like he just got promoted, or
like extra points if they're good with your friends, extra points if they're good 100%. With your family.
Yeah, or he treats his mom good, right?
Yes,
extra points, 100%. I don't know why we try to run from that. But yeah. There are some content creators, because I know I mentioned Andrew Tate earlier, and Andrew Tate gets a lot of backlash. It's funny because Andrew Tate has nuggets of truth. Like, a lot of what he says at the basis is true, but he takes it to a next level where people just
outrage.
Yeah, and he puts him. But I think he does it purposely. I think he's very strategic on what he does, and he knows that he's gonna become popular if he says certain things. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. But there are some art. It's called RP content out there that for people that want dating advice and dating. I guess coaching. I wouldn't even say coaching. It's just education out there. There's a lot of great content creators. I know Courtney Ryan's one of them. Strong Successful Male, Entrepreneurs in Car, and another girl named Rebecca. They're all on YouTube, and they're very great. They show very good examples. They display very good statistics. I just think it's very important because I'm out of the game. I'm married.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to be knowing about this stuff. It fascinates me. Dating dynamics fascinates me. And some people ask me like, why? Like, you're married. What are you planning? Right. It's like, no, it's not even that. It's like, looking back in hindsight, I like to look at how I used to date. And then think about it now. It's like, whoa, I didn't know all these things, and I could have done so much better, and blah, 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 blah. I just think it's very important. But you're in that stage right now, right? You're 20?
21.
21? And so you're in that process of like the dating stages and stuff like that. So it's really important.
But oftentimes people don't want the same things I want. And so especially here in the Valley, it's a conception that I think a lot of people can agree on. Like, men will say, oh, Valley girls, like, they're just like something else, or oh, they're crazy. Yes. And I think that's a huge misconception. Yeah, I am in the dating world, and I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's harder for women. I think it's equal. Just as hard as it is for men, it is for women as well. And dating throughout, I've dated before. I've had numerous boyfriends, and I would say that I have learned a lot, especially like in relationships that I had more towards my adulthood. I've learned what I could have done, what mistakes I made, or I catch on to things as well.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So I think it's slightly easier for women to get a partner than it is a man to get a partner. And I'll give you a great example. I asked somebody this, a female, this one time. If you wanted to sleep with somebody tonight, I'm 100% sure that you can do that. All you have to do is go on social media, ask a couple guys, slide into some DMs, and you will accomplish your mission. If a guy did that, more than likely he will not accomplish it. One, because that's a low competent guy. That's a guy who is competent doesn't do that. He doesn't go out and ask for sex, right? Yes. That's not what a guy should do. And that's a huge turnoff for women. Like if I were to like go in some of these DMs and be like, hey, let's sleep tonight. Not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Women are reserved. Women have standards that are saying like, what? Like what's this guy saying to me right now? Yeah. Block, right? As opposed to if a woman did it to a guy's gonna be like, I'm down, right? You know what I mean? So in that aspect, it's a lot easier for women to get out there. And I think there's even been like Tinder studies where like 80% of the men will go with no matches, but almost all the women will have matches. And why is that? It's because there is a high demand for women in that dating phase, right? And women know this, so they can kind of pick and choose. And so like if they want to or if they don't, they have... This is where I think that the women have the advantage. They kind of hold the pieces. They get to pick and choose the moves. And the guys have to be patient. The guys have to be... It's on, like, the woman's It's on terms, the woman. Yes. And that goes to them being so reserved, is what I think. So, in a way, I do think women have, especially in the early phases, especially when the women are young, I do feel like they do have an advantage. Because I feel like they have more options, or they have the decisions more often than not. What do you think about that?
I agree. We do have that advantage. I often get upset because yes, I do get DMs and all that, and a lot of these times these DMs are from people that have, like, girlfriends or people that have wives. And I get upset because it's like, okay, like, I could see their wife and they'll, like, post, like, oh, like, these cute pictures and this. But then, and I'm like, wow, like, she's beautiful. Oh, she's so, like, successful in this. She has a career. But yet, what is he doing in my DMs, you know? And to me, it's like, dude, why are you doing this? Like, you have it all. You have it all here, and yet... you're still not satisfied with that, and you want to, I don't know, maybe it's a high or something for them, but I guess that's what gets me upset about. I don't want to, it probably doesn't fall into the dating scene.
No, it does. No, it definitely does, and I think that brings it back to the very beginning of the conversation where I said men would typically put their best foot first, right? And then it kind of starts to fade away. And I think that's what you start to see when they do that. Have you ever heard the term in the RP content community realm? It's called rake. They refer to a guy as a rake. Have you ever heard that?
No.
A rake is a guy who loves the rush of having a girl fall for him. And once they achieved it, it's on to the next. And it's almost as if they don't try to do it. It's like they actually feel like they're into this female. But once they have the female, it's almost like, oh, like, I don't want to settle down. Like, it almost like if it gets old, like, oh, I've already had this. Like, I want something else. That is and I feel like a lot of men go through that. They just don't admit it. But the ones that do it a lot are referred to as rakes, where they take a female in, they draw them in, they love on them, and they make the woman absolutely love them. They dish them out to the side and then onto a new girl. They're in love with just the dating, spontaneous side of things, where it's like, I just want to make this person fall in love with me. They want to feel needed by other people. It's a very immature, insecure side of the males.
Yes.
Especially, and it happens a lot to younger males, right? Up until, like, once a male starts to get older, they start to realize, okay, I want a family, settle down. Even then, some do it, right? But Yeah, that's what typically happens.
And it's unfortunate. And then I guess on the woman's part, because I guess as we don't like to admit it, but we're a little more emotional, and we do get attached. And I guess it varies how quickly we do, but we do get attached. So experiences like that, or people that I guess waste our time like that, that's what makes it so hard to go back into like the dating scene. And sometimes it even makes us like not want to date at all, like just worry about ourselves. And that's why a lot of the times women are also scared to how do I say, to commit, because then that's what happens. They just they just leave like that.
Okay, so yeah, I 100% agree, which is why this brings me again back to the beginning. This is why women are so reserved, right? This is why women don't put their best foot forward. They don't completely open up to the guy immediately. I know some women that do that, and they shouldn't do that. They should make the man work for it, right? Because you need to really see if this guy's going to pass the test of time. Does he really care for me? Or does he just want this beginning spontaneous feeling of us talking? Is this just a fling, right? Or does this guy really want a long-term relationship with me? And I feel like usually most women do that, right? Where they're kind of like testing the waters. Okay, this guy, he's the real deal. Boom. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's how it is. That's how it is. I could agree on that.
Good. Well, we agreed on a lot more than what I expected. Because I felt attacked.
We have no more content.
No, I felt attacked in the DMs, and I was like, dang, this chick's going to come after my throat. She's probably going to come with like all these, she's going to bring her homegirls. Yeah.
No. I mean, I'm reasonable. I think that it's reasonable for each of our genders to have a set of expectations and a set of, standards. I don't think it's and oftentimes if we're upfront about it, like what we expect, for me personally, on a personal note, if someone's gonna take me on a date, I'm gonna tell them like, okay, but I expect you to open the door. I'm not gonna come walk out of my house to the vehicle and this, and then it could either go both ways. It could either go, oh, like that's okay, like yeah, I can definitely do that. But then there's those people that's like, whoa, you're crazy, you're like insane, or you're like a feminist, and I think that and then that's when it either, oh, you go on a date, or oh, like that person's dropped, like they don't want to continue on with the date or dating you or whatever it is. And I guess that's one of the things that makes it hard for women in the dating scene. But then men also have a set of things, and women make it hard for them in the dating scene. Maybe let's say a transitioning young adult into like an adult, they had their fun, they had, flings throughout, their young adulthood, but now they want to settle down, and they run into a lot of women that are willing to, how do I say, let's say sleep on the first night. And then they find themselves in a bind where it's like, okay, like, does anyone like want the same things I want? Because this woman didn't really take me seriously, but I want someone that's going to take me seriously. And that's for the long run. So I would have to agree that equally on an even playing field, that we all have a set of things. We
see guys are kind of dummies when it comes to that. Like if a girl allows them to sleep on the first night, a guy will probably be like,
yes,
yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
But
then they cry about it later, saying like, "Oh, like she's not what I expected."
Exactly.
Or, "Oh, she's not a good girl."
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we're a little dummy when it comes to that. Whereas opposed to women are like, see, because women will make a guy that they actually want a long-term relationship work for that.
Yeah.
But they'll also make like a guy who they really don't care about. They'll sleep with them, but that's because like, oh, it's just a pastime thing. Right? I don't want anything serious with them. But yeah. Question for you, personally.
Okay.
Does it matter if a guy pays on the first date or not?
Yes, it does.
Honest woman. You see, I didn't expect all this. I thought you were gonna.
I'm not the type that's gonna be like, oh, go have seas and this. If we're gonna go have seas, we're not on a date. If we're gonna share, like, if you're not gonna open the door for me, if you're not gonna pay for it, like, we're not on a date. You're my friend. I'm not going to call you babe. I'm not going to say, yo, you're handsome. Nothing. We're going to be completely friends. You know, unless if you want me to see you as otherwise, then you have to, like, you have to
meet the standards.
Yes. But yeah, that's how I am. I'm very old-fashioned, and that's an old-fashioned thing. The man always pays for the date.
100%. I think that I heard this very good phrase that says, if dang, how did it go? Oh, it was that if the woman absolutely wants the man to pay, then how did it go? Basically, in essence, it was like, if a woman isn't willing to pay, then she's not raised right. But if a guy, no, that's not how it went. Basically, if the guy is not willing to pay, he wasn't raised right. That's the essence of it. But I forgot the way that it was phrased. But yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, is he needs to show his competence. He needs to show that, okay, I'm at that level where I can provide for us. Even though it's like the first date, it's not that big of a deal. You're just buying dinner, right? But it's a good example of what is to come in the long-term, you know, relationship, if, you know, whatever. But yeah, I agree with that. I'm surprised you admitted to that.
Yes, I don't envision myself paying for a date. Not because, like, oh, I'm cheap, or, oh, like, no, I don't. I think as a young lady, if you're going to put your best foot forward and try to impress me, then you should.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. Honestly, I thought we were going to combat on a couple of like topics, but we pretty much agreed on a lot of the things, which I did not expect. But overall, I think Daddy Andrew Tate would be
I do
proud.
not support Andrew Tate. I do not. I guess on a like super like small point, then yes, I do. But on the majority of everything he says, it's completely ludicrous. I would not. I don't even follow him.
Well, he's banned, so you can't even follow him. But I think that's going to cover it for today. I'm very interested in what the listeners have to say about this conversation. I think it's an interesting topic. I think that this topic will be addressed again, probably in a different light, right? I think
I'm sure, because you had made a video, what was it, about men and feelings, or they feel like they have to hide their emotions.
Yes, why do men hide their emotions? That was a great one.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one? You don't have to agree with me on everything.
Well, it's because, like, I think it just depends on the person you date. Because in the relationships I've been, they've been very open about how they feel. So, and I've been very open about how I feel as well.
But they're your exes, right?
Well, in the relationship.
Well, they're your exes for a reason.
Well, yes. But that wasn't the reason why they were my exes, because they said how they felt.
It didn't work out. So you see what I'm saying? Like,
it was. I wouldn't say that was the reason why, because they didn't hide their emotion.
I wouldn't say that would. I don't think that would ever be the direct reason why, but I would think that would be a correlation to it.
Subliminally.
Yeah, subliminally, I think that's like in the back of women's mind, is if a guy is high in emotion, typically a woman is not attracted to that. That's not alpha. That's very beta of men to be like, oh, like.
I guess I'd have to agree on that.
Right?
There has to be like a middle.
There is definitely a middle, right? Because there's two extremes, right? There's the super feminine male that cries about everything and wants everybody to feel bad for them, right? No girls attracted to them. Then on the other side, there's guys killing themselves.
Okay, and I've dated both. I've dated someone that was so hard to open up, and like it was very like draining on that point, like where they didn't want to open up about anything, and then like I'm trying to like, you know, pry them, but then there's the other one that's like, oh, you know, like they only think about how they feel. They don't think just like one little thing happens and the whole world's collapsing. And it's I could see what you're saying. There does have to be a middle for that. And I guess it could be kind of subliminally, you know, it could subliminally alter the relationship.
Yeah, it'll. I don't think women want to admit it, but it can be unattractive. I've asked several women that. I think I put it on Twitter. I tweeted it out, and like people agreed with it. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is. Men who, and I think on that podcast I talk about it, especially in the work field, like men can feel who's the alpha, and that usually correlates with who's less emotional. Mm-hmm. Right? Who's less emotional? If there's some guy who's always talking about his feelings, he's the beta of the group. 100%. That's the way it's gonna work. Yeah. And no woman wants a beta.
Movies and shows. Yeah. And
well, sometimes, because I know sometimes movies will display the guy who is super in touch with his emotions win the girl. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. But you know, whatever. Yeah. Anything else before we end the?
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. Well, we're gonna use this right here. I'm gonna cut this to the beginning. Give the people where you want them to find you on Instagram, and then also your gym, because I want to shout them out too.
Oh, okay. You could find me on Instagram. My name is Aly Science, a thicker CrossFitter on Instagram. I go to Lithium Strength. That's where I train. I do CrossFit. It wasn't mentioned in this conversation, but I do CrossFit. I compete, and I do train at Lithium Strength in Westlake. Yeah, and you could find my username thicker CrossFitter.
I'll leave that in the description.
Yes.
Because I think it'll be a lot easier for people to find it through there. Mm-hmm. Go check out the gym. Y'all have an Instagram, right?
Yes, we do. We have an Instagram. Okay. Lithium Strength.
Okay, I'll leave that also in the description. Anything else before we take off?
That is it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I think I do want to have you back on if you're willing.
I am definitely willing.
We can have a conversation maybe about CrossFit or you know, maybe another dating dynamics. What I really want to do is I want to have a palette on. I want to have maybe 3 or 4 people on and talk about dating.
Yeah.
Just like 2 guys, 2 girls, and then see.
That would be interesting.
A big old clash of ideas and ideologies. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
We'll see y'all.
On the track.